So let's get right into it. We're tackling a huge question today, one that's on the mind of students everywhere. In a world that's constantly changing, with new rules and new challenges, does studying abroad still make sense? We're going to break down the good, the bad, and how you can make a really smart choice for yourself.
Okay, picture this. You step out of the airport in Boston, and it's not the cold that gets you. It's this buzz, this feeling of ambition just crackling in the air. Everyone seems to be rushing towards something big. Now, flip that. Imagine landing in Munich. It's totally different. There's this calm, structured, orderly rhythm to everything, like a well-oiled machine. These are two of the best places in the world for students, but man, what a different vibe.
And that difference, right there, gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. Looking ahead to 2026, with everything going on in the world, how do you even begin to decide if packing your bags and heading overseas is the right move? It's a much more complicated question than it used to be, that's for sure.
All right, so let's start with the upside. Why is studying abroad still such a massive draw? Well, despite all the headaches, the promise is still incredibly powerful. You've got countries all over the world basically fighting to become magnets for global talent, and that competition creates some pretty amazing opportunities.
So what's the number one reason for this? It really boils down to a massive skill gap. You've got these highly developed economies that are just desperate for skilled workers, and they simply can't find enough people at home. This isn't some small trend. It's a huge economic force that's literally paving the way for international graduates.
And we're not talking about just any jobs. This demand is laser-focused on the real engines of the modern economy. Of course, you've got the whole STEM category, but it gets even more specific in these super high-growth areas like AI and machine learning, the green tech sector, which is just exploding, and of course, critical fields like healthcare. If you've got skills here, you are wanted.
But for the really driven students, it goes way deeper than just getting a job offer. The real prize is plugging yourself into the world's top innovation hubs. It's about getting a seat at the table where the next huge breakthroughs in tech and science are actually happening.
And take a look at this chart. It shows you exactly what I mean when we talk about AI talent. See how it's not spread out evenly? Not at all. It's clustered in a few key places: the US, China, and certain parts of Europe. The best and the brightest go to these places because that's where the money is, that's where the best colleagues are, and that's where the most advanced labs are. Simple as that.
Okay, so we've talked about the big picture promise, but what does this actually look like on the ground? Let's make this real and do a head-to-head comparison of two absolute powerhouses for international students, the USA and Germany.
This table tells you so much at a glance. First, just look at the tuition fees. That gap is just jaw-dropping, right? The US is a colossal financial investment, while in Germany, public universities are practically free. And yet, look at the number of students from India. The US attracts way more, despite the insane cost. A big reason for that is the very generous 3-year work permit for STEM grads.
So, what this all boils down to is that you're looking at two totally different deals. The USA is your classic high-risk, high-reward bet. You're investing a ton of money on the chance you'll get access to its incredibly dynamic, high-paying job market. Germany, on the other hand, is the low-cost, super-structured, and stable route, especially if you're in a specialized industrial field.
And you can see this split in the kinds of courses that are popular in each place. In the US, it's all about tech and business. You see computer science, AI, business analytics, finance. These are all fields that plug directly into those high-growth, high-reward parts of the American economy.
Now, flip over to Germany. It's a completely different story. Here, the big deal is deep, hardcore engineering and industrial know-how. Of course, mechanical and automotive engineering are world famous, but you also see these future-focused fields like renewable energy and supply chain. It's all about building real things and making complex systems work perfectly.
Okay, so far so good, right? The opportunities look amazing. But, and this is a big but, we have to talk about the other side of this, the peril. Because the world is getting complicated and the path for an international student is now full of new kinds of uncertainties that you just have to know about.
And the number one thing causing all this anxiety, it's the constantly shifting policy landscape. Immigration rules that used to be pretty stable for decades are now being changed, sometimes overnight, and that creates a ton of stress if you're trying to plan your future 5 or 10 years out.
And if you want to see just how serious this is, look at this number: $100,000. That's a proposed payment that could be required for new H-1B work visas. It's a gigantic financial wall designed to make companies think twice about hiring from abroad, and it totally changes the math for both the companies and for you.
Okay, to get the next point, we need to do a quick definition of a really important term, duration of status, or D/S. For years and years, this has been the foundation of the student visa system in the US. It basically means as long as you're enrolled and doing what you're supposed to be doing as a student, you're good. Your visa doesn't have a hard stop date.
Now, imagine this whole system gets thrown out. That's exactly what's being proposed. The idea is to replace that flexible D/S system with a fixed 2- or 4-year visa. So, what does that mean for someone doing a 6-year PhD program? It means right in the middle of their critical research, they'd have to stop, pay a bunch of money, and apply for an extension with no guarantee they'll get it. It adds a massive new layer of stress and paperwork.
And as if all that big policy stuff isn't enough, you've got the day-to-day headaches to deal with. Just getting a visa interview can mean waiting for months and months. Then you've got these long administrative backlogs and extra security checks, especially for STEM students that can stall your plans indefinitely. These are the logistical nightmares that can stop your journey before it even begins.
All right, we've seen the incredible promise, and we've stared into the pretty scary peril. So, now what? Where do you go from here? The most important thing is to change how you think about this. It's not just about picking a cool school anymore. It's about making a full-on strategic decision.
So let's walk through a checklist, a way to actually structure your thinking. 1. Define your goal. What exactly are you after? A specific career? A specific research lab? Get crystal clear on that. 2. Calculate the real cost. I'm not just talking tuition. I mean everything. Living costs, visa fees, all of it. 3. Assess your own risk tolerance. Be honest with yourself. How much uncertainty can you handle? And 4, and this is non-negotiable, you have to become an expert on the policies. Read the news. Check the official government websites constantly. You have to stay on top of it.
Because when you really get down to it, this isn't just about picking a university anymore. It's a complex, strategic calculation. You have to weigh your biggest dreams and your highest ambitions against a very real, very unpredictable landscape of costs and political risks.
Look, the dream of a global education, of making your mark on the world stage, that's as real and as powerful as it ever was. But the road to get there? Well, it's definitely not a straight line anymore. The entire global landscape is shifting. So the only real question left is, how are you going to navigate it?